Yeah, home has passed. It is an initiative here in Austin. I think if you're not aware of it, they're going to densify Austin. The first phase just passed last night in a 9-2 vote, which I will certainly talk about here in a second. The first phase is now they will allow up to 3 single-family dwelling units on a single-family lot, so you can subdivide it a little bit. Add where there was 1, now there is 3. The second phase, which will be coming in spring of 2024, you will be able to subdivide the actual lot. A 7,500 or a 5,700 square foot lot goes down to 2,500 square feet minimum. And so then where there was 1, there may be 9, 12, 15, depending on the size of the lot. It's crazy and will definitely not work, Charles. But what I find interesting, so there's this, a supporter made a sign. This is from the group AURA, Austin something, AURA. Do you know what that is, Michael?
AURA, I've heard of them.
Urban Rail.
Of course you fucking have.
Austinites for Urban Rail something.
In our neighborhood, density means diversity. ADUs are awesome. Characters make up the neighborhood character. Renters are welcome. No, they're not. Triplexes and fourplexes are pretty. Y'all means all. Austin is for everyone. A few things. Why is y'all means all a part of this? Why is housing density and land use policy wrapped up into every single progressive issue? Why? Charles, I'm looking at you.
Why am I explaining what's the progressive side of things? I have no idea.
You're the show's Yummy.
They're virtue signaling to their following. I mean, you talk to anybody about land use, their eyes glaze over. So how do you synthesize it down into something people can both understand and connect with? And the left is very, very good at that historically. Although they've got it over their skis in recent years, they're very good at making issues like pull on heartstrings. So that's what they're doing with how they're messaging it. And it worked. It worked on Chief NIMBY. Leslie Poole, our city councilwoman who led Home, was previously against the land development code rewrite and kind of the champion of neighborhoods.
I don't know why she changed her tune. Maybe it's because she's not up for re-election, or maybe she's got something in the bag. I don't know. I don't think she has any financial gains to be had, but maybe she has an offshore account. I don't know. But so what happened last night, this was a long meeting, single item agenda meeting, and they had, I don't know, like hundreds and hundreds of people showed up to speak. A majority of them were in opposition. Charles. And, it wasn't like a massively one-sided. I think it was like maybe 55%, maybe 60% of the people were there in opposition. A lot of Black and Hispanic people showed up in opposition, contrary to what a lot of the white Yimbys want you to believe. And I find it interesting. I was able to predict precisely who would vote against it. I was a 9-2 vote. I knew that Allison Alter and Mackenzie Kelly were going to vote against it. That was, I think, obvious. And when you have a bunch of people show up, and I think the point of these meetings, they say, is to say, come voice your opposition. Let us hear your thoughts so that we know how we should vote, kind of, right? Isn't that sort of what they're supposed to do, right?
The idea of public hearings doesn't ever happen, but yeah.
And a majority showed up in opposition, and not one person changed their mind. Isn't that something?
Well,
not one fucking council person. Maybe, Leslie Poole. She championed it. Okay, she's not going to change her mind. Paige Ellis, Clark Watson, they're more moderate.
Well, did the anti-home folks have good arguments? I mean, you can't just say if they showed up and had poor
arguments.
Nothing
but good arguments against Home.
So they showed up. The last numbers I saw was like 530 in opposition and like 300 and something in support. And the urbanists were on Twitter trying to get more people to come down to City Hall. That thing was baked last week. The votes were never changing. I've been involved in those public hearings, both on a speaker side and on the council side. I've only seen in my life, where I was talking with somebody about this, I've only seen in my experience the public testimony change minds a handful of times.
What was so unique about those situations? Because I think this is an important issue, because I think it happens all over the country. It happens certainly in Austin and in Texas. What was unique?
New arguments that people hadn't considered. This has been bubbling up, and people have been talking about it for so long. They've already heard everything. You're going and reiterating the points you've already made to them over and over and over and over again. It's not going to change anybody's mind.
Well, and that's the thing that you see from these groups, right? They do these template speeches and pass out to their members or their friends and allies, and then you go up here and you hear the same speech just with slight tweaks over and over and over again, and there's not much information. I know here locally, the few instances where votes have been changed at the dais or at the city council table have been when you were able to shift the sympathy away. So like we've had this historical preservation ordinance, which a lot of the people who support YIMBYism also supported this ordinance because they wanted to preserve historical homes, whatever. But you had homeowners come in who said that if you pass this, you're going to essentially tax me out of house and home because I'm not going to be able to afford to do upgrades to my home. And so you had that sympathy shift. And then the news started reporting that. And then you started reporting all these stories of older Black homeowners who'd be pushed out of their homes if this passed. And then it failed. So I think it's few and far between as well. But I would like to point something out. California, which I'm assuming is who you guys modeled this after, the California Home Act, SB 9 from 2019 or something, 2020. When they passed this abolishing of single family zoning, everybody had these same arguments. It's going to destroy neighborhoods. It's going to, create slums, this, that, the other. It has effectively had no difference in the year since it's passed. I think I'm looking at some data. It says that the application of it has been limited or non-existent. LA has received a couple hundred applications. They permitted 20,000 new homes, but only received it says 9 applications and approved 9 units. Anaheim 2, Danville, which I don't know where that is, 20. LA actually was 28. They approved. Sacramento 9, San Jose 10. I mean, it's not going to destroy the neighborhoods. If it didn't happen in California to that extent, I don't think it's going to happen in Austin the way that people who are against it are afraid.
With the exception that of people are leaving California in droves and coming to Austin. So
But why? Because it's unaffordable.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is the market
be more affordable.
Huh?
The market factors, the demand factors are different. So it's not an apt comparison because there's different factors in the market. But I also agree
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I also agree it's not going to destroy neighborhoods.
My thing is, if people are moving from California in part because of how expensive it is, obviously there are so many other issues as well. When you pass this law, you would think these jurisdictions would take advantage of it and start to move fast in order to create more affordable housing and increase density, since the argument is that density is going to decrease housing costs. And so for them to not even take advantage of, not even approve it, LA, one of the most progressive cities in the country, if they're only approving 28 of these applications, and assuming they got more than 28, I would assume that they did. I can't imagine that Austin's going to be crazy. I can't imagine they're going to be improving 500, 1,000 of these applications to the point where you're really destroying neighborhood character. And to the point we made in our text before, it does not supersede deed restrictions. People still can get deed restrictions or have their current deed restrictions enforced. Yes, it's a burden on the person who's challenging the development and who's upholding the deed restriction. I understand that, and that's not okay. But that's why Austin people should push to do what Houston did, which is force the city to defend deed restrictions rather than do it individually.
Oh, yeah, good luck. Now we got to convince the city of Austin to do something. Ugh.
Petition.
No, I mean, stop it. Okay, just to respond to that real quick. I mean, Austin is experiencing an influx, a rather large influx, and we've built a lot. And a lot of the people that are moving here are very high wages. Why, tech workers, whatever. I think I've seen somewhere $150,000 income is maybe the average, or very common. So that's not, they're not going to be home builders are not going to be building little tiny homes and ADUs. They're going to be building fucking as much as they possibly can to make as much money as they possibly can. And I think YIMBYs, Charles, you should know this because you're one of them. What happened in Houston when they did this, right? You say we modeled it after California. I keep hearing we modeled it after Houston.
Well, no, I didn't say you modeled. I assume that the model's after California because it's called the Home Act. I mean, it's the same thing, literally. So I thought it was modeled after California. I don't know. I'm not involved in the Austin fight, so I don't know who they modeled it after.
Again, YIMBYs, one thing I've learned about YIMBYs is they always lie.
I was not involved in this fight. I'm just speaking of this from afar. But if you guys did model it after Houston, great. You're going to see a lot of townhomes develop that did not destroy communities.
Well, here's
more communities on the outskirts where people move to.
Here's the argument that Heyman makes in Brad's excellent podcast with UT professor Richard Heyman at the University of Texas, and he's a professor of urban affairs. I'm not going to articulate it as well as he did, but Charles, this is what two things happen. One is where this is going to happen is going to be in low-income neighborhoods, existing affordable low-income neighborhoods. So that's going to displace people who own homes there. It's also going to rise the price of the land in those neighborhoods, which is going to force people on fixed incomes or low incomes they're not going to be able to pay their property taxes. And that's where the disparate impact is going to be. And they're going to build homes, as Brad points out. You build to the market, but you also build to the highest price in that market. So they're going to build to the higher income earners, not to the lower income earners. Did I do him justice?
I don't even remember who. Yes, you did. I'm joking. It's a great episode. It's out right now. Y'all should go check it out. Austin City Councilman podcast. Yeah, he did a good job. And, I think that, as he also made some other good points, I think, but you're going to have to go listen to that. That's not what this show's for.
And that's home.
And that's home. Let's bring it home.